Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of Arrow. And this week's episode was definitely much better than last week's. And right off the top, everything is getting revealed in this episode, which is really great. And Laurel is definitely on to Sebastian Blood. And the first person that she wants to tell is the Arrow. And she meets with him on the rooftop to let him know that Sebastian Blood just killed his mother because Sebastian Blood actually killed his father all those years ago and he had his mother locked up. And of course, Oliver slash the Arrow doesn't really believe this because he thinks he can trust Sebastian Blood. His spidey senses haven't been going off and he hasn't been red flagging Sebastian Blood this whole entire time. So I think he's a little bit unsure of what to believe. So of course he enlists Felicity to find out some information about the father's death and let's see where this leads us. And of course this leads them to like a place where there's all these old files and they have to break in and Laurel has to help out and all this stuff. The part that I found really funny in this scene was when the security cameras came back online and the security guard calls the cops. All of a sudden there's like 10 SWAT members like running into this archive building and I'm like, really? Really? Would that happen? Anyways, so I just thought that was a little over the top, but it's the Arrow and you got to get all hands on deck, I guess, when you're trying to go after this guy. But I thought that was pretty funny. So Laurel in this episode also has been popping quite a few pills. And that's the thing, when people are always like over medicating themselves, it's like it's always to the extreme. She never looks like she's just taking one pill. She's like taking like three or four. So it's like, of course she's gonna look like she's loopy because she is. But anyway, so even her father, when at the end, when it looks like, when Sebastian Blood basically sets her up to look like she's been taking all these pills and she's not credible and she gets arrested. Even her father is kind of like, yeah, I don't know what's going on with you, but I think you're getting a little root. And if you're going after Sebastian Blood with no evidence, it just doesn't make any sense. So of course she is telling the truth and Sebastian Blood is up to no good, but he did a really good job of covering his tracks and making it seem like it was the crooked cop the whole time that was doing all of these bad things in the city. I really liked the fight scene that happened, of course, earlier on with the Arrow and the fake Sebastian Blood, but I knew it wasn't really going to be him when the mask got pulled off because that would have been way too easy. And let's face it, I really want to see what's going to happen with between Sebastian Blood and Slade because Slade is like, you belong to me. And Sebastian Blood still looks like he wants to be in charge. Like, you know what I mean? So I always get the vibe that he doesn't like that he is Slade's bitch. And especially in that last scene when he looks up at him and he basically takes out four other guys to say to him, listen, the next time you make a mistake like this, it's going to cost you your life because I run this show. Just remember that. And the look on Sebastian's face was like fear, but it was also like, oh, like I'm mad that I'm like your little biatch in this moment right now. So it'll be interesting to see if those two have a little showdown, as well as, of course, when the epic battle between Slade and Oliver slash Arrow actually happens. The other stuff that was going on in this episode was Roy, and he's really still trying to figure out what the heck is going on with him. Obviously, he knows now that the what he was injected with, a few episodes back, is actually making him stronger, and he doesn't want to turn to the Arrow anymore for help. He wants to basically clean up all the drama and the bad guys in Starling City himself. So he tells Sin what's been going on with him, and he still hasn't told Thea because, it's his, well, I don't even think they're really still together because he's treating her kind of bad in this episode, but he wants to at least tell somebody. So he tells Sin, and then they decide that they're going to do this whole little, fake, she's going to act like she's a hooker and then he's going to beat up the guy who's going to try to assault her. And it works. And he beats the bejesus out of him and puts him in the hospital pretty badly. So now, of course, it's gotten a lot of attention and Oliver has obviously noticed something is going on with Roy. And the thing about Roy is I like his story arc because, yes, Roy has been sort of like this lost child since season one, and he wants to be a part of something that is a positive, a positive role model, I guess, in the community. Like he's tired of being looked at as, this punk kid. He wants to step up and he wants to contribute in helping the people of Starling City. And now that he feels he has these powers, he thinks, I can do that. I can contribute. And I like that scene at the end with him, between him and Oliver, when he's like, because of course he thinks he's all big and bad right now. So he goes and he takes a couple swings at Oliver, and clearly you see that he has no idea what he's doing. And I like that they finally have this moment where they have this conversation and he says, listen, I will teach you. And so now it's like Oliver is going to take him under his wing. Well, Arrow is going to take him under his wing and start to teach him how to become, a fighter and be more trained in the art of fighting and not just like going out there and try to just bash somebody in the face, because it just doesn't work like that, right? And it's all about the skill and the dynamic of how you can manipulate your opponent and all that kind of stuff, which we've seen Oliver/Arrow do over the last season and a half, which is pretty cool. So we also got some flashbacks to the island, and I guess we, got a little bit more insight into Sarah because, obviously we know that Oliver was on this island for like 5 years, and he thought that Sarah was dead when he came back to Starling City. So something has to have happened after they've been reconnected now and they're on this island. So, we were sort of looking at these flashbacks, like, was this the moment when she betrayed Oliver again and went back to Dr. Ivo? And what we find out is no, she decides that she's going to turn her back on this psychotic dude, and she's going to stick with Oliver and try to find Slade and bring him back. And because Slade is off in the jungle somewhere with this Kuro, the serum that has that's in his blood, and he's off running around somewhere. I don't know where he's going. I don't know how he's going to get off the island, but he's running around somewhere. So they're going to try to find him. And, Sarah and Oliver had this very interesting conversation where she said to him that back in the day, she had this crush on him, and she thinks that her sister knew about it and then basically stepped in on Oliver before she could. So, she's just kind of saying that her sister can be ruthless when she really wants to be, and not everything is as it seems. So that was a pretty interesting story, because everyone always looks at Laurel like she's this sweet little innocent girl who's just caught up in all this drama. But clearly, after this story, it's like we knew that she set her sights on Oliver and she wanted him, and she didn't care that her sister liked him, and pushed her out of the way and claimed him for herself. But yeah, Laurel's going through a whole lot of stuff, and then she even gets fired in this episode after all is said and done, and she ends up shooting the crooked cop like 5 times. The DA still takes her badge, her license or whatever away because she's still on like drugs. Technically, she's been taking painkillers or whatever it is, and that's just can't happen. So she's now out of a job. Arrow is now teaching Roy how to become a better fighter. Everything around this whole, what Slade is up to, we still don't know. We know that obviously he wants to destroy everybody that's in Oliver's life. How he's going to do that, we shall soon find out, I'm sure. But he is definitely a man that we are not trying to mess with at this point, because he has one thing on his mind, and that is vengeance. And that makes for very good television. Okay, guys, well, that has been my review of Arrow. I don't think I missed anything. I mean, the episode was pretty good. There was a lot of exciting stuff going on. And it'll be interesting to see where the show goes next. I'm still waiting to find out what's with this. I think it was the Hive, HIVE organization that they introduced like a bunch of episodes ago. And when we found out that they were actually aware of what Diggle and Oliver had been up to. So I'm wondering when that storyline thread is going to come back into play. But all in all, another really good episode. I'm enjoying everything that's going on, and I can't wait to see what happens next week. All right, guys, that has been my review of Arrow. I'll see you later.